got to come out tomorrow. Just win the series. Good things can happen if you just keep winning these series. So tomorrow's a big game. Got to get that W. Head into New York.
5-3 to final tonight.
See, I disagree with Kevin Youkilis. I don't think winning series is enough anymore. We got 17 games left, Jimmy Stewart? Is it something like that? 17 games to go. You're 4 out, 2 teams in front of you. The only way you're going to get in, you got to get on a hot streak. You got to win 7 in a row.
Yeah.
Something like that. Something like that will make a difference. Winning series isn't going to do it for you anymore.
Yeah.
617-779-0985. It's Wednesday on the Baseball Hour. We'll open up the phones right away, as usual. And Wednesday on the Baseball Hour means Jared Carrabis, who is presented by Blue Moon Belgian White. I should say Jared Carrabis of Underdog Fantasy, presented by Blue Moon Belgian White. Be sure to relax and enjoy the ball game with Blue Moon Belgian White. That's Blue Moon, born in a ballpark, brewed for baseball.
Yeah.
So, Jared.
Tony, does Felger know he's deaf? Every week when I come in and I put my headphones in, they're just blasting.
So, I experience the same thing when I come in, and Zolak has had him on before I get here.
He's even more deaf than you?
Who's Zolak?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, way more deaf.
Wow.
We're all going to go deaf because of the headphones. I say that,
yeah.
I've explained this to my wife all the time.
Yeah.
That she's like, "Are you going deaf?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Where's the secret? Yes.
Yeah.
I wear headphones every day and listen
5
to people
hours.
screaming at me, and I got to turn them up to a certain level to be able to hear the callers. And anybody who speaks into a microphone knows that it feels weird if you have the volume down in your own headphones while you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound normal, so you also need to hear your own voice. Mm-hmm. And your voice, Jared, might be higher than mine, so you'll come through louder. Blah, 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 blah. You get the idea.
What a treat for you, though.
What do you mean?
To hear my voice.
It is, for all of us, Jared.
Yes, that's right.
For all of us. So, just the math.
Thank you, Jared.
Red Sox win on Monday against the Orioles, Section 10 night at Fenway Park. We'll get to that momentarily. Woo! Then they lose last night, so they got to within 3. Now it's back to 4. This back and forth thing does nothing. Does nothing. All it does is take days off the calendar, and that works against the Red Sox. So sand is dripping through the hourglass, so to speak.
And so go the days of our lives, Tony.
Or I should say funneling through the hourglass. And the Red Sox are not getting any closer, so that is what it is. But I did ask Jared a question last week. We started talking about the Red Sox prospects. And I started rattling off all the left-handed hitting prospects in their system. I'm going to give you those names momentarily. There's a reason why this conversation and this homework assignment was given to Jared Carrabis, Red Sox superfan, last week.
All right, Pete Abe.
So, is that what he calls you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
His career hasn't recovered since he called me that.
Oh, so is that a threat?
No, I would never threaten your career, Tony.
Well, thank you.
His is now known as G-Bob.
Yeah.
So, but let me ask you this. We all agree, Jared, what's the biggest need for the Red Sox going into 2025?
Pitching. Starting pitching, that is.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? We might even be able to take starting off of that. Now that Liam Hendricks is not going to be pitching at all this year. It's all right, you're just going to give him the keys in April? I don't know. I'd like to see him in September, but if he's not going to pitch in September, are you going to go into next season having not seen him pitch? I don't know. That seems risky.
Okay, pitching, and more pitching.
Sure.
All different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on starting pitching for the time being. How are the Red Sox going to get it?
It's going to have to be a trade, I think, because do you see them backing up the Brinks truck for Corbin Burns?
No.
I don't either. I think it's going to be a lot.
Burns is 30 years old?
Something like
29
that.
29 or something?
I think the strikeouts per 9 is going down year by year. It's nice to see him in the American League East for this year to kind of see, can he handle it? Because that was one of the big selling points for David Price when I wanted him as badly as I did in 2015. Was look at his numbers in the American League East. He can pitch in the division. He can pitch against good lineups. Go out and give him every single penny. He deserves all of it. And he was. He did earn it. With Corbin Burns, though, he's kind of faded a little bit in the second half. It's not like he's been a disaster, but ace, 4 ERA, over the last however many starts it's been. So I think ultimately they're going to have to trade for frontline starting pitching. Maybe there's not an ace out there. Me and Jimmy were just talking about this because we were having the conversation about on the alt cast last night. Are there any prospects in the system that are untouchable? And I'll ask you that question. But for me, it depends, right? Like I was talking about the 2008 offseason trade deadline when Roy Halladay went to the Phillies. And it was like, Clay Buchholz is our big pitching prospect, and we've got Lars Anderson, and he's supposed to be the next Ted Williams. Fine. Like, it might hurt, and you don't know what these guys could become. Like, they were comparing Buchholz to Clemens. So it's like, yeah, sure, trade those guys, but you're getting Roy Halladay. Yup. When Felix Hernandez was being dangled by the Mariners back in the day, ultimately was never traded. But a guy like that, yup, sure. The Chris Sale trade to Boston, when you're giving up Yoan Moncada, the number one prospect in baseball, and Michael Kopech, who's throwing 100 as a righty. Is this guy a starter? Is he an elite closer? Could be both. And ultimately, it became that. He did both in his big league career. Sure, trade that, but you're getting Chris Sale. Right now, I get that there are guys out there in Seattle. Everyone keeps talking about the Mariners, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, who just went on the injured list. Like, they've got guys that are frontline starters, but to any of those names, it's not like you're not like Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo. It's like, yes, they make your team better. You need guys like that. I'd love to have them, but in terms of trading a Roman Anthony, who's now in the last 24 hours, because the kid for Tampa lost his prospect status. Now Roman Anthony is the number one prospect in baseball. So here we are again, the number one prospect in baseball. Are you going to keep him and have him be one of your future stars, or are you going to flip him for an ace starting pitcher? Well, here's the thing. Who's that guy? Is that guy out there? Because I don't think that guy is out there. That doesn't mean that you won't do it. I'm not advocating for trading Roman Anthony, but to trade the number one prospect in your system, who's also the number one prospect in baseball, I need to have that, like, Roy Halladay,
of course,
Felix Hernandez, Chris Sale. I don't think that guy's out there for trade.
So Roman Anthony right now, because as you said a couple of days ago, he was the number 2 prospect in baseball. The only guy in front of him was who?
It was a kid from Tampa.
But he has now lost prospect status?
Correct.
So Anthony is now number 1. That's a big chip.
Mm-hmm.
And just that little change, that's a big chip.
Yep.
Okay, it's like having the number 1 pick in the draft. You have access to a player that no one else can get. And so what do you do? So I asked you this question last week, and I'll ask it to the listeners as well. Who are you going to trade? Who are you going to trade? Because if you go through the Red Sox system, and Jared, in all seriousness, please tell me if I'm leaving anyone out. Mm-hmm. But as I look at the list of, and I'm including some guys on the big league roster because they're still being paid very little, relatively speaking. But let me just read off these names to you. Marcelo Meyer, who was the number 4 pick in the draft. Kyle Teal, first rounder, already knocking on the big league door. Roman Anthony, as you said, the number 1 prospect in baseball. Tristan Casas, Jarren Duran, Wilyer Abreu, and just for the sake of the discussion as well, I'm going to throw Mikey Romero on the list because Mikey Romero, who was a first-round pick the year after Marcelo Meyer.
He's crushing it in Double-A right now.
He's ripping it up like nobody's business. I think he homered, 5 times in his first 10 games?
Yeah.
He's hitting like crazy. He's having a really strong finish to the year. He's a Double-A. He's also a left-handed hitting infielder. All the names I just read, Meyer, Teal, Anthony, Casas, Duran, Abreu, Romero. 7 names. All left-handed hitters. Meyer's an infielder. Teal's a catcher. Anthony's an outfielder. Casas first base. Duran outfield. Abreu outfield. Romero infield. Okay, so you have two middle infielders, Romero and Meyer, a catcher and Teal, 2 outfielders, Duran and Anthony, 3 outfielders, Duran, Anthony, and Abreu. And you also have Tristan Casas at first base. Did I say Kyle Teal too?
You did say Teal.
Okay, so the point is you've got 7 left-handed hitters, all of whom are either first-round picks, highly regarded, or both. Mm-hmm. Okay, Casas is a first-rounder. Romero's a first rounder. Meyer's a first rounder. Teal's a first rounder. You've got all of those guys. Who goes?
Also, Braden Montgomery, who they just drafted, and he's like in the
Switch hitter, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a switch hitter, but I think he was talking about abandoning one. I can't remember which one it was, though.
Okay. So, and Braden Montgomery, they did just pick in this year's draft.
Yeah.
So, really, they got positional prospects coming out the years. You can't keep them all.
No.
And in some cases, there is positional redundancy. Meyer and Romero are both middle infielders, at least right now. Meyer may end up third. Some people think Romero could end up at second.
Also, Christian Campbell, who's right-handed, but, I mean, he's profiling to be a second baseman.
Okay, and I leave Campbell out of it because he's a right-handed bat.
Right, but I'm just saying in terms of positional redundancy.
Absolutely. And Vaughn Grissom. Like, if we're going to start throwing right-handers in there, Christian Campbell and Vaughn Grissom play the same position or are going to project to the same position. Here's what I want to know. And, Jared, you can answer this when we come back, but I'm curious for our listeners. Who are you willing to give up? Who? All of them? And when I say all of them, I mean any of them? Would you trade Roman Anthony if I got you a stud starter? And, Jared, we can go through names. Would you trade... Marcelo Meyer was a guy that nobody wanted to trade a couple of years ago. Number 4 pick in the draft. In fact, most of you didn't want to sign Xander Bogaerts to get because of Marcelo Meyer, because when Meyer got here, you wanted him to play. You were willing to flush 2 years down the toilet and just to keep Marcelo Meyer. Do you feel the same way now?
Idiots.
So this is my question. Okay, fine, because I think Jared's right. I don't think the Red Sox are going to back up the Brinks truck and pay $300 million for Corbin Burns or whatever it ends up costing. The more likely scenario is a trade, and it is a market in which they have more ammunition than other teams. The only variable, Jared, is they don't have pitching to trade, which is a big thing, although I suppose you could send guys in the lower levels.
That's Tony Mazz 101. And all the big trades for big stud pitchers, a stud pitching prospect goes the other way.
Usually, almost always. Right, almost always. So
I listen to you sometimes.
I just want to know how fans are going to approach it. Okay, fine. You want to make a trade and get some pitching? Great. Tell me who. Who are you willing to give up and why? 617-779-0985. We'll get Jared's thoughts on this, and we'll take your calls on the Baseball Hour.
doing this. I don't know how, but the point is, it is there. The door has been left open, and you're still alive.
Yeah, we talk about playing meaningful games in September. These games mean something. We're alive, and it's easy to get caught up in what's happening outside of our games. I think the focus for us needs to be on playing winnable baseball. We had a big win yesterday. We need to keep that momentum going.
Craig Breslow, prior to last night's game with Tom Caron of Nesson, talking about the Red Sox just need to keep their momentum, keep winning games. Jared, you know how I feel. I'm just tired of the rhetoric from the Red Sox. They try to sell you one thing, and I say one thing, the whole trading deadline thing. We're approaching it differently. This team deserves an investment. A lot of you bought into that bull crap. The fact of the matter is they didn't really make a substantive trade. There was any
did anybody, though?
No, look, I get it. But the point is, here, Jared, your point's well taken. But here, this has been going on a while. I mean, this is now 6 years where they've been a 500 team. I'm including 2021 in there, and that was a pretty good year. I don't mean to dump on 2021, but I'm just telling you, in the aggregate, they really have not been a consistent contender for 6 years. 6. And so, when they say, well, we have a chance, this year really isn't, in a lot of ways, is going to end up not very different from the others. And so there was a little more fun in the middle. They became a little more interesting. They got 10 or 11 games over 500.
It was a month and a half.
Yeah, in the middle. And then it disappeared. And so they're going to end up right around 500. If they go 78 and 84, it'll be the third year in a row they've done that. I don't see the easy way to get pitching, which again brings me to how you're going to get it and who you're going to give up. So let's go back to that. Of the list of names that I gave to you before the break, Meyer, Teal, Anthony, Casas, Duran, Abreu, Romero. Who you absolutely, is there someone on that list you absolutely would not trade?
Yes, Roman Anthony.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think Roman Anthony is like a superstar in the making?
Yes. Like everyone that I've talked to, because we went to Portland and we went to Worcester, so we're talking to people that are around him. Actually, I mean, we've got the nerds of the world like Tyler Milliken that are just slobbering over his highlights, but we've also went to these places, talked to teammates, coaches, peers, and everyone is like, this dude's the real deal. He's in a class of his own. I know that everyone is super excited about the Red Sox system as of right now. You get 6 guys in the top 100. But even the guy, like we interviewed Kyle Teal when we went to Worcester a couple weekends ago. And even he was like, yeah, no, like Roman Anthony's in like a tier. Like it's cool that people call us the big 3, but like Roman is kind of like in a class
different
of
level.
His own. Yeah, like he's better. He's so much better than everybody else. So that excites me. And look, I know that it's people don't always believe in exit velocity, and it's like, well, that's cool that you hit the ball hard, but like how often do you hit it? How consistently do you hit it? Where do you hit it? He does all those things really well, and I believe he was like second in the organization for that. So I think Roman's the real deal. He's going to continue to get bigger, better, stronger, faster. That's exciting to me, but he's the only guy for me that I think is untouchable in the right deal. Like I'm not just like looking to move on.
Yeah, you're not giving
guys.
anyone away.
Yeah, and I'm not giving up on anyone. I feel like some people are giving up on Meyer. I don't feel that way. The guy got hurt a couple times. So what? Like that doesn't mean that he's not going to be profiled to be a good big league baseball player. People are just kind of too quick and cold, honestly, to be like, oh, you got hurt a couple times, smell you later, see ya, we're moving on. No, I mean, like the guy was at the time, it was the 2020 draft, and he quote unquote fell to the Red Sox at 4, but everyone said like that's the best prospect in the entire draft. So you have Roman Anthony, the number 1 prospect in baseball, and you got Meyer, who at the time was best prospect in the draft. Yeah, I'm not giving up on that guy either. But as far as untouchable goes, it's just Roman.
Okay, so everyone else could go in the right deal. And I was just going to, I'll tell you what, let me expand the list a little.
Okay.
Because again, if you want to make a big trade, maybe give up 2 guys in the same deal. Okay? Mm-hmm. So let me throw another name. I'm going to throw some names at you here, and I want your, just a yes or a no. So Anthony, you say no.
No.
Meyer.
Everyone else is on the table for me. in the right deal.
Okay. And let me add some new ones. Christian Campbell.
Ooh.
You're leaning no.
I'm leaning no for sure. I mean, this dude is super athletic. He can play any position. They just stuck him out in center field the other night, and he was like, yep, just adjusted to it. And we asked him, like, where do you feel the most comfortable? Like, what position, when you play it defensively, are you like, yeah, this is home? He's like, you can put me anywhere. It's like, that has a ton of value. Like, look at how valuable Ceddanne Rafaela has been this year, because he can play shortstop and he can play center field. Christian Campbell can play any position you want him to, and he's a great defender. And then every level that he's been promoted to, OPS over 1,000. Do I expect him to have an OPS over 1,000 at the big league level? I don't. But until I see it and know that he can't do it, I'm not going to necessarily bet against the guy. So I lean no.
Tristan Casas.
He's on the table.
Jaron Duran.
Ooh. I wouldn't do it, but I think everyone outside of Campbell and Roman Anthony are on the table for me.
Okay, so the ones you feel most strongly about, Anthony's obvious, Duran, Campbell.
Yep.
Okay, 3 more names. Montgomery, who you mentioned, Braden Montgomery.
He's on the table.
Okay. Vaughn Grissom.
On the table.
Brian Bayo.
On the table, yeah.
Okay. So you'd move Bayo. And the reason I say you might have to move a couple of these guys is because if you wanted to move a good prospect, let's say Meyer.
Yep.
And the team you're trading him to is going to send you a pitcher, and they want a pitcher back, they're going to ask for Bayo.
Well, that was the ask for Dylan Cease.
Okay. And the Red Sox didn't do it.
No.
Would they do it now?
Depends on who the guy was.
Okay.
I think when you look at any trade involving someone like Brian Bayo, we're talking about the ceiling is what, a number 3, maybe a number 2, but you're looking more at like a 3. But you have him under control for X amount of years. You're not going to flip a dude that has that type of potential, that is under team control for relatively inexpensive AAV. And get a guy back for what? That has 2 years left? Like, you're not in a 2-year window. Like, if I'm trading for pitching, I want a dude that's going to be here and be a part of what we've got going on.
Yeah, of course.
This isn't like a flip a dude with 5 years of control for a pitcher with 2 years of control.
Right. I get that.
Yeah.
No. I'm just at the end of the day, I just want to know who do you
Sure.
want? Who are you willing to move?
Yep.
Because you know what? This is how it works. You go in and you say a trade conversation starts in the organization. I remember this with the Red Sox one year where they said, as Theo Epstein called it, it was like a Chinese menu, a menu in a Chinese restaurant, where you go on and there was you could go in and they would have the lunch special. You order one from Section A, one from Section B. Well, they would group the prospects and say you can have one of these guys, one of these guys, one of these guys. You pick one from A, one from B, one from C. That's it. And it's going to be something like that. And the Red Sox have to decide who they're going to put on that menu and who they're not. So Anthony for you is not on the menu.
No.
You don't want to put Duran on the menu. You don't want to put Campbell on the menu.
Right.
So it's all the other guys. The Red Sox are going to go through a similar process. And they're going to, because at the end of the day, someone's going to say, if you give us this player, we will do the deal. And they have to know before the talks even start, if they ask us for him at the end, are we going to give him up? They have to know that. And so I just think it's, again, I am fearful, Jared, that they're not going to make any deals. That's what I'm fearful of.
I have reason to believe that they are going to make a deal.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll take your word for it. When you say reason to believe, that's informed reason? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that they're going to make a deal, but I can tell you that there is sentiment inside those walls where there is belief that we've got to do this. Like, we have to make a trade for
a front-end pitcher.
Yes.
We've reached the point where we have to do it.
Have to.
And we can do it.
They can.
Because they have enough prospects.
But it takes two to tango, as we just saw at the trade deadline. To my point, the counterpoint was, well, did anyone really go, all out at the trade deadline? No, I don't think so. Like, no one had a monster trade deadline, but it's different in the offseason. At the trade deadline, with the extra wild card teams, you're kind of at the mercy of what the market is, and a lot of teams at that point still thought that they were in it that weren't really in it or weren't going to be in it relatively soon after the deadline. In the offseason, it should all be up for grabs.
Seattle's a good match. Seattle's got pitching a deal they need offense.
It's a perfect match.
617-779-0985. Kevin Major.
earn your hits right, and we haven't been able to do that. We have to take a look at it. If it's just swing and misses in the zone, or we're expanding, we have to take a deep dive and see what has happened the last 3 or 4 weeks.
That was Alex Cora talking about the offense. It just struck me as an interesting comment, which I'll get to with Jared here momentarily, because it was already sort of focusing on the problems. The Red Sox, to me, have effectively given up. And, whether you think they should or they shouldn't, I'm not going to get into that argument tonight. But they're clearly looking to 2025. And the way Cora said some of that was kind of interesting to me. So I'll read that comment to Jared here again in a minute, or maybe we'll even play it. Jimmy, I'm having trouble with the call screener again, so you're going to have to help me out here. Mark in Dorchester on line 1 on the Red Sox prospects. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, guys. Good evening. So I think you got to get rid of 2 of them. It's got to be Marcelo Meyer and it's got to be Kyle Teal. And I'll tell you why quickly. With Teal, I think we already have our catcher of the future, Wong. I wasn't a big Wong guy, but after this year, the consistency with the bat, leadership, defensively, just ride him. He's young. Keep that going. And then at shortstop, radically, I think we should put Rafael as shortstop. And then your outfield's Anthony, Duran, and then if you want to bring back O'Neill, then you can trade away Abreu or something like that. But that's my thought.
Okay. What do you think of that, Jared? Would you trade Kyle Teal?
He's a guy that I said is on the table. I don't know that I'm in a hurry to do it, but with Tyler O'Neill, for a dude that's won multiple Gold Gloves,
shakes the clown.
He has looked worse defensively this year than Masataka Yoshida did last year, and they never let him touch the field ever again. So if you're going to bring back Tyler O'Neill because he's a free agent, you're going to stick him at DH and try and get rid of Yoshida. I don't know how, if you saw what you saw from Yoshida last year and said, we're never putting this guy out there defensively ever again, that you could watch what Tyler O'Neill did this year and be like, yeah, let's run it back and stick him out in the outfield again. I just can't do that.
I want nothing to do with Tyler O'Neill. See you later. Thank you. Appreciate the
30 home runs and like an 850 OPS. You don't want that?
Nope.
As a right-handed bat?
Nope. Goodbye.
Even as a DH?
Nope.
That's crazy, Tony.
See you later. No, I can do better.
How? As a DH, who are you putting at DH that you can do better than that?
I'm the Red Sox. I can do better.
How?
Tyler O'Neill to me is your classic second division player, for lack of a better term. Put him on some mid-market team somewhere else. He's like Hunter Renfroe.
No,
same kind of guy.
Offensively, he's better. Like defensively, I agree with you. Where it's like, okay, yeah, I've got some cachet defensively, but you're not really that good at all, really defensively. But offensively, yes, we need a righty bat that could hit 30 bombs and have an 850 OPS. Yes, I'm taking that all day.
Yeah, I'm not. See you later. I'm done. I'm done with Tyler O'Neill, and I will tell you. Kyle Teal, I don't want to trade. He would be on my I'd rather not deal him list.
Yeah.
Because he's a left-handed hitting catcher. And there aren't many catchers that can hit. I think this kid can hit. I don't have all the answers on him. Unlike the caller, I don't think Connor Wong is an everyday player. I think he'd be better served as a backup. I thought he faded. He's been hot lately, but I thought he faded kind of in the second half.
And they're like putting him everywhere.
Yeah, it's to me, Connor Wong rather is expendable. I want Kyle Teal to catch. Dave on line 2, Jimmy. Dave in a car on the prospects. Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys. So after the big three got called up to Worcester on September 1st, I went over to see them play, and I was really excited about it. Anthony and Campbell, they didn't have great games, but the way they carry themselves on the field, they have a major league swag that I cannot wait to see at the next level. The thing that was interesting was Kyle Teal. He hit a bomb to center field, dead center. It was a great home run. But the kid is small. He's short and he's skinny. I don't know if he's a major league catcher, and he's too small for first base. Where does he play in the future?
He's 6'1".
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's not small.
No.
I don't know what you're talking about. He's not small. He's bigger than Wong.
Yeah, he's 6'1". So that came up in conversation because when I do my podcast, I do it with Steve, who's like 6'2", and Coley, who's like 6'5", 6'6". I was like, in comparison, I look small next to you guys. And when he takes pictures with Meyer and Anthony, they're like 6'3", 6'4". They're big dudes, but he's 6'1". He looks short in comparison to them. But I think like on his face, he has like a baby face. His voice isn't like deep yet. He still has to mature as a man. But frame wise, yeah, he's not. I mean, he's definitely bigger than Connor Wong.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Kyle Teal. I don't know where he got Kyle Teal being small.
No.
Again, maybe it's what you said. Maybe the contrast in the,
yes,
standing next to the zone two. Meyer's a big kid. It's one of the questions about him playing shortstop. He's a big kid. He's like 6'3".
His legs,
as you said.
He's got meaty legs.
So this is part of the reason why people say he may end up at third. So, Kyle Teal to me, I don't know. You can get a productive catcher who can hit from the left side. That's a huge asset. Huge.
And he's
outside of pitching. Everybody wants catching too. Catching's another one's hard to find.
He's also obsessed with the process. I asked him about that. I was like, you've got to prepare yourself offensively, your throwing game, you're preparing the pitchers that you're working with. There's so much that goes into being a cerebral catcher that can also hit, and he prioritizes all of it.
Kevin in a car on the Red Sox and pitching. Good, Kevin.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about Tariq Skubal. I mean, the Detroit Tigers are not a big market team, and I think he's maybe the best pitcher in baseball right now. His contract's up in 2026. I don't think they're going to be able to pay him. What do you think it would take to go after him, and is that something that you guys would move prospects for?
Okay, Kevin, thanks for the call. Jared, I was talking in Jimmy's ear trying to. Did he say Skubal?
Yep.
Go ahead.
1,000%. Like, that's one of those guys where he might be the only guy where I'm like, yeah, anyone's on the table for that one. That might be the only guy. I think Alex Cora last week said that's the best pitcher that we faced all season. It would be a little scary for me because he's going to win the Cy Young. He's going to win the Triple Crown next to Chris Sale. First time since Verlander and Kershaw that we've seen a double Triple Crown in the same year from a pitching perspective. But Skubal's going to win the Cy Young Triple Crown. This is his breakout season, though. See, when we traded, take whoever you want, we have the number one prospect in baseball for Chris Sale in 2017. Chris Sale had been that guy for a while, whereas Skubal, he's going to win the Triple Crown. That's awesome. Are you banking on him being that guy for the next 5 years? Something like that. That's a question that the talent evaluators with the Red Sox are going to have to answer, but if it were up to Alex Cora, I mean, he called him the best pitcher that the Red Sox faced all year. Can you project that out? Do you feel okay with giving up whatever it takes for a Skubal, knowing that he's going to be this guy, the guy that he's been in 2024 anytime? Also, the Detroit Tigers are kind of in the same spot as you. Like they're knocking on the door of, we're not a playoff team. We're probably not going to make the playoffs, but we got in the conversation. Do you really think that they would part ways with the defending Cy Young Award winner if they're trying to continue? Like they're not in blow it up and rebuild mode. They're growing year by year very slowly, but I don't think that they're trying to blow it up. I don't know.
So Skubal's almost 28, right? He's like 27 years old.
Yeah.
So that scares me a little bit. He'll be 28 in November.
How old was Sale when he got here? Around the same age.
Well, right, but to your point, Sale had a longer track record.
Right.
So, the fact that my point is the fact that he's just figuring it out so late worries me a little bit. Like, how long is he going to be able to keep it? Now, the other way to look at that is he doesn't have a ton of innings in his career. So, maybe he's
better build.
Well, and also maybe there's more bullets in the arm because he's developing late. Maybe he can pitch into his mid-30s. So, to me, something to consider. Before this year, again, career-wise, he only has, 550 innings now, and he's thrown 174 of them this year. That's really the equivalent of only about 3 seasons. So, there might be something there. I want to revisit this comment that we played from Alex Cora, get Jared's thoughts on that when we come back on the Baseball Hour.
Stay tuned for more of the Baseball Hour coming up.
have to take a look at it. If it's just swing and misses in the zone, or we're expanding, we have to take a deep dive and see what has happened the last 3 or 4 weeks.
So this is a question, or the comment rather, that I want to ask Jared about. Alex Cora on the offense, saying that you've been in a slump lately, and he says it's been the whole season. And again, I sort of cut and pasted this out of a story, so I might be leading into that incorrectly. But he said at one point, they had the best offense in the game. So I think maybe it's really focusing on the strikeouts. It's who we have, Cora says, the personnel that we have. But we have good hitters. We're not walking a lot lately, and that's a bad combination. A lot of strikeouts, no walks. You have to earn your hits. And we haven't been able to do that. We have to take a look at it. If it's just swing and misses in the zone, or we're expanding, we have to take a deep dive and see what has happened the last 3 or 4 weeks. What do you make of that, Jared?
I feel like Alex Cora for these last 3 years, going back to 22 when they finished in last place, how many times after, because we always, before we record the podcast, we'll listen to Cora's thoughts on NESN and see what he has to say about the approach and everything else that happened in that game. Put the ball in play. It has been a consistent theme with Alex Cora for the last 3 years, or when they haven't been good, put the ball in play. When you put the ball in play, and then they'll have these nights where they put up 9 runs and they win 9-3, and then after he'll still say it again. He'll be like, when you put the ball in play, good things happen. Or he'll compliment the other team. It's instead of striking out a lot, they'll be like, we played the Orioles tonight, and when you put the ball in play, good things happen. That's what they did to us, and that's why they won the game. So he preaches that all the time.
Bingo.
So the strikeouts have to drive him absolutely insane. I know he talked about the walks as well. You've got some guys that we talk about the term swing decisions. It's kind of like Casas and Rafaela are on the total opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, Rafael is up there. He's going to swing at just about anything. Casas, a little too picky. It's almost like you're the big dude that's supposed to be driving the ball in the gap and hitting homers and doubles and driving in runs. But last night, he punched out on a ball that was an inch below the zone. But there was 2 strikes. Swing at that. You got to swing at that.
And then he was agitated. He sort of stopped and looked back at the umpire and didn't say anything, but he went to the dugout.
Sure. I
saw that.
It's like, okay, I agree with you. It was a ball, but with 2 strikes,
swing the bat.
Swing it. Yes, you have to swing at that. So I think Cora's probably more frustrated about approach at the plate, and it's almost, and I've heard this from other organizations, not talking about the Red Sox, but just
in general about hitting.
This generation of baseball player, they don't know baseball. They know launch angle, exit velocity, and all that other stuff. They're not thinking like, I have 2 strikes, I got to swing if it's close. They're thinking, all right, I know my strike zone, and if this is an inch below the strike zone, I'm not swinging. I would rather be right, walking back to the dugout, telling the umpire he's wrong, than, hey, this is close, I got to swing at it. I got to foul this off so I can continue the at-bat. They just don't think that way.
No, they don't. Because, again, we're up against it here. This, to me, is an interesting conversation. Maybe we can have this one next week, Jared.
Yeah.
They look at it as, well, that was a ball. Okay. Well, they have technology now, so they should reverse that. Well, they're not going to reverse it. You can't reverse everything, although they are probably going to put the rule in.
They will.
Okay, that's coming. But even so, there'll be a limited number of times you can use it. And so, but they're always looking for someone to kind of bail them out and fix it. And sometimes it doesn't get fixed. Sometimes you have to take it into your own hands and make more with less.
Well, this right here, Tony, this was last night, 12th inning, A's, Astros. The A's bunted 3 times in a row, scored 2 runs, won the game. And I'm not saying, go out there and bunt, and, there needs to be more bunts in baseball, but it's put the ball in play, make the defense make a play, make them do something. And the Red Sox don't do that enough. And I don't know how many times Alex Cora has to say it, put the ball in play. But the A's last night against a really good Houston Astros team, they bunted 3 times in a row. I'm not saying bunt more, but put the ball in play more and make the defense make the play.
Of course. Yes, you put a little bit of pressure on the defense. I mean, you got a chance, at least a small one, but you've got a chance when the ball's in play. If you strike out every time, what the hell is that going to do? Hey, you're done. It's over. Mm-hmm. So, like, the game's played stupidly, if you ask me.
Selfishly.
Yes, and also, I'll just add quickly on the whole thing with, if I were Pete Fatsy, that comment would alarm me a little. So, I don't know, when I say alarm, I don't know anything about the relationship between Cora and Fatsy. I don't know any of that. So, he might be completely fine. I have no idea. But when the manager starts talking about the strikeouts, we don't walk enough. Like, to me, that's pointing a finger at the pitching coach or the hitting coach. And so, what is the message? And again, early in the year, we played the cut a million times. Cora made that comment about, we put the ball in play. It was a nice rally. I know some people don't like us to play this way, but I'm the manager. This is how we're going to do it. Maybe it's coming from up above. The analyst, Breslow, Cora's sending a message to someone with that comment. That's all I'm saying, Jared. Any final thoughts?
It's good to see you, Tony.
Likewise. Majority's got your headlines. Joe Murray's got your rest of the night.